because I like my little intro. We'll wait on Daniel for a little bit, just shoot the shit. So it's still not streaming yet. So I don't know if you saw the Daniel's album's been nominated for best in local. So I'm really proud of him.
Oh, I didn't realize it was sick.
Yep. Yep. Okay, we're live. Just let me change this link real quick.
Wait, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine.
Okay.
You sound really good too, by the way. Not that you don't always sound good, but your voice sounds good. Whoops, I can spell.
I can't see myself, so I have no idea if I'm pointing.
Yeah, you know, I thought it was me because I was using a new headset that's like waterproof, and I wanted to test them out, but that wasn't it. So we'll just wait a few minutes. Sorry, guys, we had a little bit of tech issues, so we had to just stream from Zoom going to YouTube, and hopefully Jimena will be able to put her camera on. Otherwise, we'll just hear her lovely voice. So you
have my camera
of Adam Gottlieb, who has been nominated for Best in Chicago, and perfect. I can see you just fine. So we're asking that you vote for him, because this is a huge honor for someone like Adam to be nominated with his revolutionary songs, and so I'll be posting that link as well. So I believe the name of the album. Oh, I can't switch out because I got this one that he crafted for me. Well, hold up, I'll stop the song. I'll tell you what the album is called, because it's really good. I actually bought it. It's called All of You, and it's just a phenomenal album that focuses on environmental issues, and he does a lot of work with the homeless. So he works with that too. But let me text Daniel. How you doing though? You look good. It's like 8 a.m. over there, right?
Yeah, I'm great. I'm really good. It's a lovely day. I'm still outside, and I'm a bit conscious that there could be big spiders behind me. I still jump at every bug here.
Really?
Yeah. But
I hear that Australia has a lot of bugs, like a lot of snakes and stuff.
It does. It's great. They're beautiful, but yeah, not when they're very close. So
yeah, are they a majority of them poisonous?
No, not really. Anything that's the ones that you tend to see a lot are in trees. You know, spiders. I've not seen a snake yet, but they don't hurt you. It's things that are under the chair that you've not, that's been sitting in the garage for ages, or in a log.
Well, one of the reasons I am,
but I'm not used to them, so.
Yeah, no, I'm not either. The last time I think I was in Arizona, it was a while back. A Vigamaru bit me inside the ear, or they think it was that, or a brown recluse. And I kid you not, I had to go to 3 specialists. I couldn't hear. My face was all swollen and disgusting. I had like a really bad reaction to whatever bit me, but it was the same thing. Like, you have to worry about scorpions and snakes, and they would be like under the furniture. So, oh man, I'm glad all that's woo. I live in Chicago, where all I have to worry about is black widows, maybe. All right, well, I don't know that. So Sean couldn't make it, but I guess we'll get started without him. He should be joining us pretty soon. I think his phone was giving him hassle.
Mm-hmm.
Us 2 representing.
Yeah.
I know, right? Yay, Latinas, Golly. So let me just check real quick. I don't want to just. Yeah. No, he's still not there. Oh well, hopefully he'll see it. Well, he saw my last thing. Nuts. Oh well. Saque la fregada. That's okay. So welcome to Radical Books and Politics. We've had a little bit of a bumpy start, but we are here with Jimena, who is a member of the Unity Editorial Board, and I am waiting for Daniel to also hop on. I don't know about Elaine. Elaine said she was sick, and Sean is shopping, and he doesn't want to annoy the customers. I'm like, whatever, Sean, annoy them. But this is a proof of the Unity volume, which came out. It is lovely. I finally ordered some for me, and you got yours. Let me see yours. God, that is so pretty. I think like your cover is more vibrant.
It's a bit bluer, and it doesn't have that strip, does it?
Right. Well, the strip is not for resale. Oh my gosh! Welcome, Daniel. We have Daniel, who was the co-editor of the poetry division, and Jimena did fiction. And I'd try to meddle with everything just about. But welcome. I'm so glad to have you guys. We were just talking about Adam Daniel, who got nominated for Best Local Band by the Chicago Reader, which is awesome. I know, right? So I'm terrific. Super stoked, man. I was playing the song. It's a hilarious. I love the song. It's called After Capitalism. And it says, after capitalism, I won't have to market my songs anymore. It's like, and that can relate. Like after capitalism, I won't have to put so much coin into producing books. I don't know. I don't know that worked out. Oh, this is new. Oh, what the hell? How are you, Daniel? Daniel, you will know him, man. But how you doing? So why don't we just do introductions? Since you're from so far away, Jimena, why don't you go first?
Well, yeah, I'm Jimena. I've just moved to Australia from the UK. I've been writing for a couple of years, maybe a bit more than that. Getting more confident. I'm hoping to put a book of poetry this year together.
And publish it in Body Blues Press.
Yes, I know. Yes, that's.
Daniel, go ahead. How about you, brother?
Yeah, Daniel Brooks. I've been writing for a few years, give or take. I would say seriously, a few years. And I write poetry. I'm working on a novel as well. And yeah, you know, I kind of think of myself as a total noob, but I got a little teeny tiny bit of experience under my belt now. So
you have natural talent for editing poetry. He's hardcore. So I'm Jesus Estrada. This is my channel, Radical Books and Politics. And thank you, new subscribers. We're almost to 150. I'm like, what? Holler. It takes a lot of blood and sweat to get subscribers, just like it does to get book reviews. But I've been writing for a long time, but I didn't start publishing until 2018. And so now I own my own press. It's an independent press, Body Blues Press. I'm working on getting the official charity, whatever the tax thing is. But all the proceeds go to charity and for Unity, which you guys show yours. Yours are so much prettier. All the proceeds, unless there's like a revolution and there's free healthcare for everybody, it is going to Doctors Without Borders. So all the money went to Doctors Without Borders, and I was really proud because people sent in their best work, and it is a beautiful volume. I think we can only build up from here just based on the selections that have been coming in for volume 2. But how much money did we make? I think like $115, and I curved it up. So they were just about to finish their $1 million campaign, and people are hurting. You know, I know in some places like China, they have the pandemic under control, but in the United States, we've had like 6,000 deaths, and the it's increasing. And not just for that. I mean, there are of course other healthcare issues across the world. So so all the Unity volumes from now on until my last dying breath are going to go to Doctors Without Borders. Body Blues Press, which again is based out of Chicago, has also produced a chapbook called Nation. Just a little book. It's not really a chapbook. It's a little. I can't find it now. Do you have yours by hand? Probably not with you, right? And
yeah, dude.
Thanks, hermano. So Danny also sent. Wait, did you send a piece to that one? You did, right? The fourth.
Yeah,
You featured poet. Oh my gosh, I forgot. So Nation was the first. Unity was the second, and I put my own piece called Wolf Track, which is actually doing pretty well. I'm working on the print for that one. And that charity volume is going towards Riva Meta's college fund. So when she's older, she'll get all that money, however, or sooner if she wants it sooner. But yeah, so it's a real honor. And, you know, one of the things that makes Body Blues Press so amazing is everybody volunteers. I volunteer my time, of course, even though I own the press, and I put all the money into advertising and producing the book and whatnot. But Jimena and Daniel and Sean Klimek and Preeti J, who did the marketing, and Elaine Marie Carnegie, who did the majority of the copy editing, put so much time and love into the production of this book. And just, I made the process, I hate to be, you know, it made it fucking magical is what it did. It was so awesome for me. And I know sometimes it was stressful, but I don't know if you guys can speak to what that experience was like for you guys. You as primarily fiction editor and you as poetry editor. Daniel, I don't know if you want to go first. And you don't want to discuss, I mean, but what was it like for you? You know?
I mean, it was a really good experience. This was my first time editing poetry in this capacity. I learned what little that I know about poetry editing through this writing group that I went to here in Indianapolis, with you know, some elder statesmen in terms of writing. They really knew what they were talking about. They were really like technically sound and like, you know, and we would meet up once, you know, maybe every month or so, and we would all kind of email a poem out to the same person. We would read it beforehand, and then and then we would meet up and people would mark it up in front of you, cut lines, cut words, everything.
Sounds brutal, Daniel.
And it wasn't just one person. It was like a table full of people. Like, this is what you should do. This is what you should do. This is what you should do. So I learned from that experience, from the several times going there. And so it was just a great experience. For me, it's not when editing, it's about just not imposing my style on someone's work, but kind of sprinkling a little bit on there. And my main thing is, just the flow and the rhythm of the poem. And sometimes in order to get a little bit more flow and a little bit more rhythm, you just got to cut stuff. You got to cut words. Sometimes you got to cut lines, so on and so forth.
Right. So. No, I thought your edits were amazing. And you definitely have an ear for music in the poetry. And most of the contributors were cool. They were like, yeah, sure. Okay, let's rearrange this. And that. Not all of them, though, but that was fine. I mean, people own their work. But I would say in the main, the edits that you applied to the poetry really improved the poem. So that when it came down to the final edits, I really had not a whole lot to say about the poetry. It was so well done. What about you, Jimena, with the fiction? It's a lot of work.
I loved it. I mean, it was, as you say, Daniel, about imposing your style. That question that I was asking myself all the time, because I went to the theater a lot when I was in my 20s, and I tend to read like it's being sort of said on a stage almost.
Great.
So I even impose my own like cadence to the work. So, but that's not necessarily how everyone else would read it. With your own, the rhythm is not necessarily in the writing, and sometimes I could see that I wanted to change something, but it was for my benefit, really. That was a challenge. But I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I loved just, thinking about trying to, making the stories, polish them, making them shine as much as you could, like try and make them more impactful. As you say, sometimes, less words, just say more, But yeah, what I enjoyed the most about was the quality of the diversity of the stories. I loved how they were from different parts of the world. So yeah, different voices, different colors, different landscapes. That made it really interesting for me.
Yeah, and I think at first it was a little bit challenging because the theme of unity will always remain. And then let me contextualize more. When I was thinking about this volume, I wanted to do something that would uplift people because there was so much negativity in the country, especially in the summer. And people were protesting the George Floyd murders, and people were angry about these terrible return to work programs, which still are not sound. They're not protecting our students or our community, especially here in the United States. I don't know what it's like in Australia, but it's a struggle. And so I wanted something that also countered the racism that came from COVID, calling it the Chinese virus. And so I thought, well, we all want to unify, right? My vision is for people to be united. So why not unity? And I think that was a struggle for some of the writers, that they're like, what do you mean by unity? And so what I had conceptualized was like this, not like hands across the world unity, but uniting around basic needs, uniting around a common vision, whatever that could mean to the author. But what emerged was more like unity with self, unity with another person, unity with a family, unity with community. And I was like, you know what, that's okay. These are also ways of getting towards this larger vision that I wish like people would come together to humanize each other and build a cooperative society of sorts. But I think the theme of magical realism also stumped people. And one of I don't want to call my sister out, but magical realism is not the same thing as fantasy. And what I thought was interesting was that they would send these really high fantasy pieces, like with swords and magicians and dragons. And I was like, no, that's just no. You too, right, Daddy? And then you were like, no, not magical realism. Oh, But it'll be interesting to see volume 2 because the call for submissions is out. We've been getting a lot of good work, a lot more art this time too, and maybe that's something I could show. And I do plan on doing a color edition for the next one. But the art was beautiful. We got maybe about 7 pieces of art for this one. For volume 2, it looks like we're going to get quite a bit of art, but this is actually Sean Clemex's piece, which was accompanied by a poem called Play the Lizard Men. And it's actually, I think it's a chalk painting. You see the 3 lizard men around the bottle, and maybe I'll read his poem since he's not here. But I thought the artwork was beautiful, and we need to definitely talk about I should have invited Norbert. I totally forgot. But No So, who designed the cover is Norbert Samosi. He's a surrealist artist. His art looked phenomenal in here, and he's already said that he's going to design the cover for the next one. But the cover designer too, Angela Vujic, I think she did a beautiful job of almost telling a story with the full cover of the book. So I was really proud of this, and just really happy to learn from all of you and collaborate. So let's get into the meat. Do you want to read your poem? Oh, you didn't have a poem in here. You just edited. Oh my gosh, I keep forgetting that.
Yeah, I also wanted to mention just about the poetry that kind of, part of the job of editing the poems was that a lot of the poems are already really, really good.
Oh yeah.
So my job was really easy, to just kind of take things out and to kind of, make it, make it a little bit more flowery, so to speak. So the poems were great. The theme was tough. Like it was tough for me to really understand the theme. Like I had to lean on Sue and kind of a lot of our other editors to really like understand, what magical realism, because like you said, you drift into this realm of fantasy and of, fairy tales and kind of stuff like that. And there's kind of this thin line between reality and kind of this magical world. Yeah, but I really felt like the poems really nailed it. And sometimes it doesn't always have to, the theme doesn't have to be 100%. That if there's elements there, then it's good,
I think so. So maybe if you want to set your piece up, Jimena, I'll read Sean. And this is written in, well, I was gonna say it's written in quatrains, but that's not quite true. But it's called Play for the Lizardmen. And sorry, Sean, if I don't read it quite how you would, but I think we'll interpret things very differently. Play for the Lizardmen. Frothy, footloose, fancy free. Make it sweet and wet and be pleasing to the Lizardmen. Play for the Lizardmen. Something jazzy to the jar. Razzmatazz that's reptilian. Practice color prancers are par for the Lizardmen. Play for the Lizardmen whose cold-hearted hearts ignited. Rival rainbows rising when by a cornet call excited. Play for the Lizardmen. Play for the Lizardmen. For if they're angered, they'll destroy us. Eat our children lives, but then battle music makes them joyous. Play for the Lizardmen. I gotta say that last stanza always throws me off, and I'm like, whoa, what just happened here? There's like turned into like, what do you mean they're gonna eat our kids? But it's a very musical. I think Sean also plays music, and that's fascinating to me. Maybe Daniel, since you didn't submit a piece, you could play one of your favorites. Play. Did I just say play? Read one of your favorites. Jimena, do you want to read a poem or part of your story?
Yeah, sure. Or I could read somebody else's.
Interesting. I hadn't thought of it. I had Penny Lowe, Dr. Penny Yoklo. She submitted 2 pieces of art that were beautiful. I got to see them visually in the interview, and then she wrote artist sketches. And one of the fascinating things she said, she's traveled all over the world and she's exhibited art in a lot of different parts of the world as well. So she was in the Soviet Union for a time, and the story was inspired by a photograph of an old woman, and she actually stayed at an artist's house. So this was all the inspiration behind artist sketches. And she read
I love that story.
Yeah, she read the part up until where she sees Alexi, or not she, but the main character sees Alexi across the river, where she also got to stay at, or the lake. And it was it was really cool just to hear her talk about it and her thought process. And she tends to be one of those writers that's not a planner, so she just writes, But that was cool. So you're gonna read a favorite. Okay, let's hear it. Is this one that you voted for? By the way, we do have a vote going on for the best of fiction, poetry, and art. Not counting the features.
Sorry, was that to me?
Yeah, to you, Jimena.
Okay, yeah, I'm not prepared. I don't know what really to read. My 2 favorite poems were, one was Vonnie's, The Chagall's Village.
Yeah, mine too.
And I think I gave her my vote, if I remember correctly. That was my vote went for her. But also The Elephant in the Room. What was that one?
That was my favorite. I voted for that one. So what? Maybe you reach Chagall's Village, and do you want to read The Elephant, Daniel? Or another one that you like?
Or Daniel choose, yeah.
See, I gotta give also shots to Vonnie Chris, because Chagall's Village is the only one we didn't do any editing to. We were like, it's fine, right?
Yeah, didn't touch it.
And it ended the you know. So which one do you want to read? Do you want to read Matt's piece or you want to read Chagall's Village?
I'll read Chagall's Village. I will try and, do it justice. I don't know. Right, so. My viridian face, angled and planed, noses out the future. My ghost lips repeat dead men's tales. My spirit eye gazes through crystal, glimpses puzzle pieces which mesh to form a jigsawed head. A Prussian blue cow, still wearing the witch woman's protection bead, stares at me. We both recall the auburn-haired milkmaid who smelled like new-mowed hay. Above our heads, bites of folk dances on the Russian snow, shoot smoke into the background. Bound for our cottage, my field worker father nodded his wife's knees. For my mother once again turned the village upside down with her songs. An Orthodox giant fills the church vestibule as he ponders, the crucifix clutching my windpipe. Look, oh holy man, I wear grandfather's garnet ring on the hand that lifts the sprig of dream plant to the center of my timepiece. I have faith each flower petal, each grain of pollen, and each fruit fragment that falls from this breath will spark a vision of unity. Then I, color lover, surrealist, mystic, will paint my fantasy.
Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. When you read it, it's so musical, especially that last stanza. So
very nice, very nice.
I can tell that spent a lot of time on her line. You know, and this seems like a gorgeous. You have a beautiful reading voice, by the way, Jimena.
Oh, thank you.
It sounds very natural. And Daniel knows my pet peeve. I haven't had a guest do this, but like in the US,
it's reading in English as well. Like it's although I speak English fluently and I think in English and Spanish, but still I kind of
really
I get nervous that I'm gonna mess up because I did read out, have a good voice in Spanish always, so
I would love it. We should do a show in Spanish, man. That's been on my to-do list. You can still join. Let me see. Do you speak Spanish, Daniel?
A little bit, un poco. Es muy mal.
Okay, so where is the elephant? Which, this isn't generally Matt's Adio is a phenomenal poet who was he was in Cambridge and he was writing theoretical experiences of scholars into poetry. And he's one of the writers that I believe has really gotten the technique of his poetry down. Really outstanding performer, poetry, and he fascinates me because he will work on his poetry so much that by the time he puts it on paper, he's already memorized it. And it's like, wow, I can't do that. I'm like, what? And he's explaining the process to me, and I'm like, man. But it's called The Elephant. Danny, do you want to read this one?
I had one here that I was gonna read.
Okay. Then how about I guess do you mind if I read The Elephant?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or it's actually your turn. You go ahead. I don't need to be reading all the time. You go ahead and then we'll get it.
Well, I had one here by Julie Greenbaum. It was called A Slow Awakening.
Oh, that's a good one too.
Yeah, it was one that kind of stuck out for me. Matt's as well. I don't want to read his and not give it justice because his stuff is really good. And then you sent me his collection and I read it and it was just amazing.
Yeah,
this wow.
One, oh my gosh, I always have it at the desk, but I think I moved it. It's called Mowing Leaves of Grass. It
was terrific. Yep, it was. Oh man, it blew me away.
It's so good. Him and oh my gosh, where did I put my poetry books at? I must have been reading them on my bedside somewhere. I got too many books everywhere, any bookshelves. That Matt Adio has been nominated for a Pushcart Prize, as well as David Romero, who has submitted to Body Blues Press. So it's pretty amazing, So yeah, let's hear this piece.
Okay, A Slow Awakening by Julie Greenbaum. I find myself writing about time in a different context, in a new rhyme, from a new perspective. You see, my hand was forced. I was ready for change, but when it came, I cried. The thought of time without routine scared me to the core and made me question all I had become. and accepted for so long. In many dreams, my truth and history were stored in a mailbox in a tiny shack, locked away from the world, waiting for me to one day open it. There, my secrets were hidden, and when I finally encountered those lost relics of my soul, I laid my past to rest. That was when magic became real, and time, I learned, was not what we thought it was, but a collective dream held true for so long. When I took my space back, love filled that emptiness in my heart, and for the first time, I could feel the pulse of Gaia, the sacred connection that we all share if we allow ourselves to feel it. There's a lot that can happen now in those hours when the sun surrenders, casting its divine glow. A joy filled me with ecstasy I had never known, seeing the world pass before me and being okay with it.
That's awesome.
Very nice.
Yeah.
I like how
that one was a weird one as well.
Yeah, it was hard. I think voting for the poetry was difficult. Well, so was the stories. I mean,
they were hard to. It was hard to choose. Did you read all the fiction as well, Daniel?
I read most of it. I mean, man, there's just a lot of good stuff in this volume.
Oh,
yeah, there.
Sean.
Is he here?
Hey, Sean made it. Drag and drop to. No, I don't want to do that. I guess you can reorder the video as well. Sean, I just read your piece. Well, he's connecting yet. We just give Sean, welcome to the clinic. We just read your piece, Play the Lizard Men.
Oh, nice.
Yes. So I'm gonna read The Elephant. Oh, Sean, do you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Sean. Do you guys have any video?
Yeah.
You have to select. Yeah.
Oh, good. Well, this is my house.
I don't think you gotta show you.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
That's quite all right. I should have you reread your poem and see if I did it justice. But okay, so this piece is called The Elephant, which again is not normally Matt's style, but I really love it and I want to laugh every time I read it. But there's something about it that punches me in the gut, you know. Do you see where to do it? It says there's a little camera on the bottom left. You should be able to click on that and show us your lovely home.
Okay. Start video.
Yeah. Hey, here we go. Oh, they went back to. Hey, all right.
All right. Well, there's a little bit of home. I don't know. We just got home from groceries, so I really don't have much grocery shopping. So I'm gonna actually have to busy that. I'll turn my camera off while I do that, so you guys can do it in peace.
Oh, no worries. All right. So one morning, drifting in and out of sleep, like so much life unseen. I knew this by feel alone. I had awoken with tusk, the cool air on my back, reflections of gray, shards of glass. I tried to recall the time before, splintered wood, warm to the sun, the daylight in my room. Got a new job, brother. I'm gonna just mute you out temporarily, Sean. The daylight in my room, my skin, my limbs, the emails. I recalled. Do not forget the emails. A knock on the door, the owner of the house, no doubt. I was certain, still I could not move. Every day she berates my appearance. Every day new criticisms, how I dress, when I leave, when I return, mocks while I move through the world. I work, I pay, I rent. All I ask in return is silence. Now the live-in lover who does not work, who does not pay, barks at the door. Bulldog of a man howls in my room, unsolicited opinion, more threats, more stress. Work, they say, dress, they say, emails. Do not forget your emails. I have broken the bed. I cannot get out of bed. I have broken. This isn't fair. This isn't right. It never was. I cannot see the light. A new voice joins, a choir of demands, more pounding. Wake up to work. Your emails. Do not forget your emails. I am your landlord. I am your office boss. She is your landlord. She is your office boss. Hands pound, voices boom. Demand, demand, demand. I cannot move. This isn't fair. It never was. Demand, the pounding, your emails. The door falls. The demand of light, the landlord gasps. The lover gasps. The office boss gasps. The office boss cries out, my God, there's an elephant in the room. It's kind of funny, right? But I just
that last line, it's like, you know, it's coming, like you want it to come, yeah, but it's not obvious either. And then when it comes, it's like, yes.
Very good. I enjoyed it.
No, it's a good piece. It was my pick for the favorite for the best in poetry. You know what? I was telling the group I'm so dumb. I forgot to invite Norbert. Like, duh. He should have been invited.
Oh.
Yeah, I totally
Oh.
forgot. I'm gonna have to have him on at some point because I do want him to. But did you want to read a piece, Sean? One that you favored? Whether
well, Norbert and I went through. We did so much of the translation for the Tub Bazaar, but that's not a poem.
No, you can read a piece of the short story. That actually, I think that's the one I voted for the best fiction. There was just something about it that made.
It was so surreal, wasn't it?
Yes, I loved it. It was feral too in some places that I'm like, what the hell just happened? But yeah, a lot of this was good.
Well, I'll get shot if I sit down right now. We still have groceries to put away, so I'll have to take away the check.
We'll wait for you. I mean, we'll wait for you. We'll be here.
All right. Keep going.
We'll be here all day. We'll be here all day.
We're just chatting. Yeah, and so I was looking at the votes, and they're so close. That's why I'm like, people, please, you got the copies in your hand.
So I voted for Tub Hussar. I can't say it. Your favorite?
Yes, that's either that or artist sketches. One of two. I think it was Tub Hussars, and the reason was because of the way that the writer used folklore, and and there was just something so haunting about the image of the little boys in the bathtub,
Yeah,
so I really enjoyed that piece. But there were others I really liked by the.
It's that we've coincided because I was also, struggling between Tub Hussar's artist sketches and. But my vote went for Isabel Palerma in the end with what's it called? Because the title changed.
I know which one you're talking about. La Estatua del Mar.
La Estatua del Mar. That's right. Because I love the imagery. I love the imagery in it, and just the idea of the gallery of neglected things. And I thought it was it honored the genre as well. Like she just nailed it. The flavor of classic magical realism as well was.
I thought she did right. Exactly. She was.
But it's hard. It's always hard to choose, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. She was the one I think. It was closest to me to Gabriel Garcia Marquez in classical magical realism.
Yeah.
Beautiful. You're totally right. Yeah, it was with hers too. But it was hard, and part of the thing is that this is what makes the volume so unique.
Oh no! Wait, and the death cut. That was brilliant. I love that story. The Mexican what's it called?
The New Mexican death cart.
Here we go. Yeah, how I drove the New Mexican death cart.
Yes.
That was a favorite of mine as well.
That was outstanding. Scott also owns his own press. We're actually doing a joint fundraiser in February because that's my birthday month. But his press has been running for a year. Also, the charity press. He didn't say anything about that. I was like, wow, shit, I'm supposed to meet with him too, but I got sick last week. Sorry, I totally forgot. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm supposed to meet with him. But really, really, really wonderful person. Really enjoyed his story too. Yeah, so I'm actually intrigued because my feeling is we're probably going to get more magical realisms for the next volume because it's speculative fiction, and people are like, oh, I can include magical realism. I'm like, yeah, I guess I could. But I was thinking more like, I don't know. I know I'm talking about the next volume, but oh my gosh, what's the name of that African American writer who does speculative fiction? It's not gonna come. H.P. Lovecraft. I'm thinking more H.P. Lovecraft kind of thing, but like the Tub Hussars could easily be considered speculative fiction too. So there's just a lot of beauty in here.
Yeah, I mean, speculative is very wide. It's just they're all subgenres of speculative, aren't they? Fantasy. That's why people voted for it. I think it's because they write what they want, really.
Well, that's what a majority of them said.
Real.
Yeah. Were there any pieces that you thought were unique in how they approach magical realism?
I thought all the stories were very unique, really. I liked the Wooden Grandpa because I thought it was so random. Like, it was so random, and it was almost like the idea of writing a magical realism story drove the story, like, because it was. So it really, I thought it really honored the genre there.
Yeah, no, that one was.
And then, yeah, how I drove the Mexican death cart was, was fantastic. Death personified there, and that it was like he gave substance to his anxiety. It gave it bone. Literally.
I hadn't thought and the Doña Sebastiana was a really the way. One of my favorite parts is when, she's a little bit pervy, right? And she's like manhandling him, and then she's like, "Órale, cabrón!" Like, her speed it up, and you're like, "Oh my god!" She's like abusing him, and poor guy. But it's also funny, right? Because you don't expect Death to act that way.
Yeah, it's funny. It's full of surprises, and at the same time, it's a sad story. You feel so sad for the empathy you feel for the character, and it's great.
Yeah. Sean, did you want to read your poem?
My poem?
Sure. Any piece that you favored?
You mean the Lizardman?
I read it. I played
It's already been read.
I keep saying played. I read the Lizardman, but I don't think I did it right.
Oh, well, that's an old poem. I wrote it right out of my first year in college. So when I was at home, sort of deciding whether I was going to be a writer or an artist. And I wrote a bunch of really off-the-wall poetry during those days. And what page is it on?
94, I think.
I'll show you how I've always read it. That's all it means.
Oh, wow, your dog is jealous.
Oh, it's all I know. Noneko is not in this room.
Bobby.
All right.
Can you hear my dog?
It's you. Oh, I'm like, who's barking?
It's all right. It's all right. Some dog wants attention.
Oh, I thought it was I'm falsely accusing your dog.
Play for the lizard men. Frothy, footloose, fancy free. Make it sweet and wet and be pleasing to the lizard men. Shall I pause? You guys have already heard this before. Maybe that's enough. I don't know.
No, read the whole thing. It's short.
Play for the lizard men. Something jazzy through the jar. Razzmatazz, reptilian. Practiced puddle prancers are par for the lizard men. Play for the lizard men. Whose cold-hearted hearts ignited rival rainbows rising when bought by a cornet call excited. Played for the lizard men. Play for the lizard men. For if they're angered, they'll destroy us. Eat our children live, but then bottled music makes them joyous. Play for the lizard men.
Awesome. You know what? I just realized, oh my gosh, you guys, I'm so sorry. I've because we had to change platforms, I forgot to check the YouTube stream. So if somebody else wants to speak, I'll just go check on the YouTube stream real quick.
That's true.
Probably
Okay.
chatting with us, and I'm like, blah blah blah.
Well, I like that poem, Sean. I felt like at the beginning of it, I was like, yeah, the lizard man, like, wow, this seems really fun. And then towards the end, you're like, oh, the lizard man, like, don't stop playing, keep the music going. I went from like, they seemed like really friendly and fun and to like, more animalistic, like who they are, so.
That's just kind of my go-to, I think, aesthetic in terms of, I think it comes from a somewhat comic sensibility. Yeah. If you look at the illustration that's conveniently beside it, when I was my first year in college, I was an art major. So the fellow who's got his cornet that you can see from the rear, I was looking through a window into a music rehearsal room at this guy, and I just sketched him. And so that was in my sketchbook. And then I was dating this girl who took jazz dancing. I say dating. We never kissed. We never formally dated. We were both into each other, but we were both in the theater workshop. And it was actually one of the, there's a whole nother story there about the humiliation of my first semester in college. I was petrified, never kissed her. And she finally said that she wanted to break up with me because I'd never kissed her. And that's how that ended. But anyway, the sketches I did of her jazz dancing became the lizard men. Mm-hmm. So that's where the poses came from, is all that really amounts to. And the bottle, again, just a still life. So I just merged all these things together. Presto, you have sort of a surreal thing, and then the poem came afterwards. That's all. Interesting little background story. But the best stories are obviously the unspoken, right?
For sure. So Joshua Marcella says, good editors are priceless. Holla to Joshua, who was here earlier. But I'll be going back and forth. No, that's awesome. And I was, do you play musical instruments still, Sean, or is that?
No, no. I took a couple of semesters of various things. I was on my way to learn a keyboard, but never followed through. And so I don't play any instruments.
I took 6 years of classical guitar, but I think I can just play like one song now. I sucked at it though. Like, you know, when you have a talent and when you don't. I was just trying to force it. You know, kind of like singing. Not meant to be a singer. All right. So we were talking about what the experience was like for us as editorial board members, and just saying thank you because you guys did a fantastic job. And this time for volume 2, Sean, there's been quite a lot more art, and it is good. I think.
I think so too.
Yeah. So I think that's really exciting. But we were talking about how beautiful Norbert's art was, and he's agreed to do the second cover, which I'm really excited about. But this was just gorgeous. You know, I kind of regret not printing colors, but I didn't know how. What? Sean, it says you're in the waiting room.
I'm trying to see if I can get it on my PC.
Oh, I'm so confused.
It's still on my iPhone. See, so I can do. No, I don't think I can because I've unplugged everything off my PC. Never mind. But my battery will die. I'll have to leave the meeting when that happens. All right, never mind.
Well, try.
Well, me too. I'm on my phone and outside, so I'm not plugged in. So if I disappear, it'll be because,
Same reason.
This has been awesome. So what advice would you give? Like, just based on this work, and I actually learned a lot. I definitely learned a lot more just from dealing with people and what to do and what not to do. I tell you, shoot, in fact, I just remembered I have to do something which I'm going to write down or I'm going to forget. But what advice would you give people who are submitting work? Or
Who's that?
Somebody who wants to go.
I would suggest putting your best foot forward every time.
Yeah.
Don't say, hey, I've got something to slough off onto this, anthology, because it represents you. You know what I mean? And everything out there that the public can accuse you with, where they can accuse you of mediocrity, is working against you, and you can't ever get it back.
Ouch. But that's actually true. I always submit my best work, and I try to get better with my submissions, How about you, Daniel?
Man, I would say just don't take it personally at all. I mean, I've been rejected so many times. I probably couldn't count them all, to be honest, and try to be as close to the theme or to the I guess style of the volume, whatever it is, or publication as possible, because sometimes you get rejected because it's nowhere near the style that they're accustomed to or that they're looking for, and not so much the quality of the poem or the piece. So I would say, and also you don't have to take everybody's feedback, right? And I would say that just from an editor standpoint, or just as a writer, sometimes you can say, wow, that's a really good idea. I think I'm going to implement that. And sometimes you can say, well, forget that. I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing. So trust your heart.
Yeah, for sure. How about you, Jimena?
Yeah, same. I mean, I'm, part of me agrees. Another part of me thinks, write your story the way you want to write it. Don't be afraid to be yourself, because that's all you've got to offer, really, is you. So I feel you lose something by trying to please the editor, really, and the theme and that. But at the same time, I know I've learned so much by doing that. It's given me tools to, come up with plot. It's made my ideas better, really, and bigger. And so it's all a learning curve, isn't it? I don't have any answers. I only have questions. So
right. Yeah, I'm the same way. I think that's beautiful. You have to find that balance. On the one hand, I like to treat the editor like God, but on the other, I'm secure within my stories.
You have to be
You know,
yourself, though. You have to be yourself, because that's what you know. That's your materia prima. You know.
Yeah.
Zamina, let me just say, from the very first thing I've ever saw of yours, I was immediately impressed. Even so, and I say this humbly, without any pretense of superiority, I've also seen you grow, and so I've been impressed by the reflection of what you're saying. Right, rings true to me.
Thank you.
Yeah. And especially in the poem that you submit, the story too. The story was gorgeous. You know.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's I mean, I've always wanted to write. You know, when you asked how long have you been writing for, well, and I said a couple of years. Well, that's not entirely true. I've always written, you know, just not as much, not as actively, and certainly never showed anyone anything. And when I started to write, I really wrote what it was completely me, you know, 100% me. But I often struggled knowing what to write, because I have the emotions, I have the ideas, but I never have a plot. That's never what drives me to write a story. And that's also not what I'm after when I read a story, because I might as well watch a movie. You know what I mean? Like, there has to be something in the writing to grip me, to grab me, you know? Yeah, but then, for example, with the Frida Kahlo story, I just had come across an article about that painting. And I wrote a story about it, but I knew it was lacking something. I knew it was kind of floating, you know, and a lot of my work is like that. It's just like floating. And then when we had the, you know, this call came up, and I thought, oh, I could make this about unity, and I could make it magical realism. And that gave it legs, you know, legs to step on. Yeah, I had a story, but I had already written it, and it just gave it these dimensions, you know, and made it what it is, which is, yeah, much better than what it was. But I didn't know, I knew it needed something. I didn't know what it, you know. So it's great. I think writing's a theme, like, as opposed to what I was saying before, it's also great, you know, because it just makes you think outside the box. It makes you, you know, grow, really. So, but I'd love to go back to now to like, you know, myself again, you know.
I'm sorry, let me respond kind of, or to echo, I think, what you're feeling a little bit. When I got involved in these anthologies a couple of years ago, I had the same eureka that having a submission call, say, write to this, spurred me into places I wouldn't go. But at the same time, after a year of it, especially a year of basically giving away stuff for free, right? I published 130 things last year, I think. And I don't know, maybe probably made $50, you know, out of all of that stuff. And some of that was prizes and what have you, right? So you feel kind of empty if you're trying to get to a career and you're really not on the right path. And especially when you look back at this mountain of emptiness that you created, emptiness in the sense that there's I mean, the fact that it's published, that you have a trophy on your shelf, you know what I mean? You have a little anthology that you went in the hole for, kind of like a vanity press sort of function, right? If you paid more, not Unity, God bless you, for, you know, I really appreciated that every contributor got the book. At least seems to me that the book is the least you can do for the author, right? But anyway, when I look back, especially being sucked into Black Hair Press, for example, and all the horror stuff, horror is not really my forte. You know what I mean?
No.
I enjoyed it, and it was fun to explore, and I got to build and maybe some muscles I didn't really have. But when I look at it, I'm going like, but would I read it? Would I go seek it out? You know what I mean? Maybe I'd say, oh, here's something I did, maybe 1 in 20, or maybe not that bad, maybe 1 in 5 that has some cleverness and some real art to it. I go, I'm really proud of this drabble, for example. But otherwise, I'm like, I wouldn't read that stack of stuff because doesn't call to me. What calls to me, and this is where what I'm trying to echo in terms of your own artistic mission, is say, why don't you write for you? You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And again, I'm not knocking the submission calls or even horror or any of that stuff. I'm merely saying you got to find a balance.
Yeah.
Right? Does that sound like a good conclusion?
I don't submit as often as I should, but I try to have a balance of publishing my own stuff and submitting to calls that really move me. You know what I mean? So, but I could see 130 publications is a lot. I mean, at that point, I think you should probably be writing your novel. Get your voice out there, you know.
I was thinking I might do a collection.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been trying to focus on science fiction ones, but I've been stumbling. I won't go into me.
Interesting, because one of my favorite stories by you is the one about that serial killer that was the basis for he shall not be named, but another writer. And you were really
it wasn't a serial killer. I think you're thinking about A Taste of Friendship.
Oh,
that inspired Mark Kodama to do his own story.
your story was so good.
His was a serial killer. Mine was about a
Well, I love that.
lonely guy.
But that's fascinating. I wish I could write horror. I try and I fail epically. And I somehow become better at magical realism, and not really speculative fiction. I kind of, I don't know, but I wish I could stretch those muscles out to write horror. Because I read it a lot, but it's just I want to write scary stories, and they're not scary to me. You know.
You do pretty good.
What?
I said you do pretty good, but you know who you could learn from is Zamina, because of her. Read her. She's really good at a sensory experience and feeling at the same time. She goes into the emotion and sensation right there. She's talking about not going into plot, where you've got a story. Just merge the two of you. Got a perfect horror story right there.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I hope to continue to give the contributors to Unity at least copy, you know, and even because I just contracted the first author through Body Blue Press, and I guess a lot of times independent presses don't give coin beforehand, but I would like to get to the point where I can give a little bit of something to the writer besides just contributor copies, you know.
Maybe not as if you're doing it for charity. I wouldn't go further than that, honestly.
Yeah, but we'll see. Well, no, that's a good point. I mean, and I noticed that a lot of other charity presses try to do fundraisers, and they don't make a lot of money. So I'm watching to pay attention. I gotta go check on the fundraiser pages. But I've been lucky that people have been giving to Unity, and been just very, very grateful for that. You know, on top of the.
Well, if you do explore another option, what about Kickstarter, right?
What is that?
And you've heard of Kickstarter, right? Anybody not heard of Kickstarter?
I have no idea.
Heard of it, but I don't know what it is.
All right. The idea is this. Kickstarter, basically, it's kind of like a GoFundMe sort of thing, but with a project at the end. It says fund this project.
Oh.
And if the goal is met, then the project takes off and everything you pledged becomes due. You take pledges. But if the goal is not met, nobody is charged anything.
Oh, how interesting. Oh, that's cool.
But then you have tiered goals where you'd say, all right, you can reward people who pledge above certain amounts, and then you can also have goals if beyond the goals are met. So in other words, if we double our goal, then everybody gets a bonus t-shirt or whatever the thing is.
Yeah. No, that'd be sweet. I was trying to wrangle my husband into helping me with setting signed copies if he would do it, because I don't have the patience for it. So someday, maybe during the summer, because he's busy with the kids and stuff, but it's a lot. I know a lot of other independent writers do put in their time, and they sell the signed copies for extra money, or if you do that, they do send you like different, like a mug or whatever. But I think with the pandemic, stickers would be a good idea. Hi, cutie. Oh my goodness.
She was.
So
I heard her jingling into the room. So.
Oh, she's so precious.
If you're showing off your dog, I'm showing off.
Let me see. Oh,
definitely.
Oh wow!
Oh, he's cozy. He's a. Is he?
That's it.
Oh, she's so cute. Look at that. That dog adores you.
I've
Oh,
considerably less writing since this one came into my life.
You have been or haven't been?
I go for walks a lot, though.
Okay, yes. There you go. You can think about your clock. No, that is awesome. Well, should we do one more round of reading?
Sure.
Who wants to go first?
I'll read some of ours.
All right.
All right. And I'll just remind you that Norbert and I, what page is it on? Let's see. If you get there first. Oh, here it is, 210.
I know.
Norbert and I went line by line translating this, or rather, the Zoltan had a translator. He turned it in with translator, but Norbert would say, "Oh, that's wrong." You know what I mean? He said that's not what they meant, and so we actually got. Now Norbert speaks not only Romanian because his native tongue, but he speaks Hungarian as well, or at least can read it. And so he was going back and forth, and I said, "Hey, wait a second, let's get the author online." And so we got into a three-way, and it was just a pleasure to watch. Saying, "Did you mean a matchbox, or did you mean what I mean, all those details?" So especially when you're working with magical reality, right, where somebody in speaking in poetic language, they can mean something bizarre on purpose, right? So if it seems like a bad translation, might in fact be deliberate. So anyway, here it is. Carries the night into the village. The rasping sounds of its rusty wheels wake the hanging bats in the steeple. Their webbed wings comb the cold air. A straw bale shakes out the ashes of the dead. The mother floats into the children's room like a ghost. The moon is grazing in her round eyes. The dream traces meandering black lines across her white face like combat paint.
Oh man, I was getting really into it. I think his phone died.
Yeah, oh no.
He's got such a great voice. He has to be on the radio.
Yeah.
Well, I'll read that last line, not as beautifully as Sean. The dream traces meandering black lines across her white face, like combat paint scratched with charcoal sticks. She watches her two sons sleeping with their mouths open.
Okay.
Ah, there you are. I just caught up for you. You were on the blanket.
You did.
The blanket rises and sinks. Oh, that's you, Jimena.
That's not me. I guess it was just... Oh, hold on. I have to turn this thing off.
I was just saying what a lovely voice you have.
Where do we leave off?
Blanket rises and sinks. Third paragraph.
The blanket rises and sinks with their small breathing chests, rinsing the room with each sweet exhalation. Their milky hair tickles the feathers from their pillows. "My little darlings, it's time to wake up and take a bath," says the woman from the darkness. "Quick, I'll get the soap and we'll make bubbles that will polish the night." She doesn't wait for a response. The mother picks up the children and carries them into the bathroom. The boys only wake up in the tub. Frothy water flat splashes under their smooth armpits. Small bubbles sit in their belly buttons. "But Mom," they moan, "we already had a bath before going to sleep. We are all clean, Mom." "Shh," the woman puts a finger to her lips. "A terrible nightmare visited me and sat on my bedstead. Oh, my hair still smokes because of it. In my dream, you grew up and left me. You became robbers and murderers. Ugly knives glinted in your hands. Nice and clean, my darlings. We must wash off these premonitions from your dear skins." The boys' eyes meet. Revived, they begin to splash each other with the soapy water. Dice waltz in the bottom of the tub, getting stuck between the boys' toes. The mother raises their tiny feet, blows off the soap suds, and observes what the dice show. "Lucky sixes," she exults. "Quick, my darlings, the warm bed is waiting for you. I have rubbed off the devil's shadow. Now you can return to sleep." Outside, stars slip from the bats' dark claws, falling into the snow. Violinists dance on the wintry rooftops. Their lonely, dark silhouettes throw their instruments into the chimneys, then watch as the rising smoke fills the night sky with musical notes. Darlings, my sweet little peas, a disembodied voice calls from behind the curtains of a dream. The boys open their eyes in the dark. Mom, they whisper, we are so tired. Hush, my angels, and come quick, or the water will get cold, says Mother, pulling the children from their warm beds. Come, my precious matchsticks, out of your box. You must take a bath now. Quick, I'll get the soap. The children take off their clothes, and the mother begins to wash their backs and bottoms. A bubble in my dream popped, and black ants marched out of it. They are still buzzing in my hair, she explains to her sons. Ugly, ugly bugs. Their nest is made of cemetery dust, and they carry the bitter tears of the dead. I dreamed that, oh, why am I telling you this? You grew up and left me and became dog-eating tramps. The little puppy heads all disappeared into your sweet little throats, my darlings. You twirled the leashes above your heads as if they were lassos. The sad barks stuck between your teeth. Quick, quick, nice and clean. We must wash these premonitions off your dear skins. The two boys keep yawning and stretching in the water. The dice at the bottom of the tub crawl between their toes. The mother raises their tiny feet, blows off the soap suds full of dead ants, and checks the dice, but they are all white. The soap has washed away the dots. Like anxious ghosts, the towels wriggle, cuddling the tired children. Now they hide their faces in the dry cloth. Now pop into your bed, angels, she orders them. Bats squirm in the pipelines. The mother also hits the sack, but when she raises her blanket, she finds dry corn husks underneath it. She sighs sadly and lies down empty. When she shifts in bed, the sound of crackling husks fills the house, like someone tearing pages out of a prayer book. The boys in the other room fall asleep out of pure exhaustion, and in their dreams they see their mother floating in the sky, throwing bars of foaming soap at them. My little darlings, my sweet peas, she yells from above. These are pieces of the sky, rich with cloud foam. They will make you truly clean, make your skin glow with heavenly light. In mid-flight, the bars of soap become bricks. Moments later, the boys find themselves lying in the brick-filled bath. Their abrasions paint the water pink. Discovering their pillows uncomfortable, the boys awaken. Their eyes open in the dark. Reaching under their necks, they pull out one brick after another. They toss the bricks onto the floor where they grow insect legs and begin crawling up the walls. As the boys watch drowsily, the sound of cascading water like 1,000 rains rumbles in the distance. Their mother is refilling the tub with water. As they close their eyes, they can see the bubbles playing tag. They can smell soap and feel the touch of the water. The thought of the bath gives them gooseflesh. Darlings, sweet little peas, in my dream you grew old and died. You were lying in coffins, but I wasn't there to give you goodnight kisses. You were surrounded by a grieving family I didn't know, and they planted flowers in your chest. The flowers immediately sprouted, their petals falling like my tears. A rising wind carried them to the north. Yet another bath. The water is almost white with the soap. Breast milk ripples in the tub. Don't forget to wash your willies too. Brick insects keep crawling inside the walls, and new rooms appear and disappear in the house. Only the bathroom doesn't change. The shadows of the boys, twirling like dark ink, dissolve in the water. Towels arrive. Please don't bathe us anymore, the children cry. Their eyes are all red. The cloth feels like sandpaper on their soap-dried skin. Ease into the dark room. Scrape out the remains of a soul and feed it to the dogs. Dice, all sixes showing, jam the keyholes, locking every door. The mother plucks frozen tears from her eyelashes, drops them into a glass, shakes them. They clink like her boy's toenails against the enameled tub. Under the window, a wheelbarrow full of bats. As they squirm and scratch each other, their leathery wings are torn to pieces. The minutes go by, and the mother makes up the bed in the bathtub for her little boys. She puts pillows under the naked children's necks and gives each a kiss on the forehead. Then she turns on the water. Good night, little angels. This stream will keep you clean till morning. The nightmares will disappear down the drain. You will see. Then, dismissing the light, she leaves the room. The two boys close their eyes and listen to the steady dripping of water, the top layer of their half-dream. Suddenly, neighing erupts in the darkness. The bathtub begins to shake. The children open their mouths and scream, but their mother can't hear them anymore. She's sound asleep in her room. Her eyes move beneath their lids as she flips the pages of her dream. The bathtub rises, extending long horse legs. It begins to move, first trotting in small circles on the tiles while bearing its two trembling riders. Finally, it jumps out the window into the snowy courtyard, carrying the sloshing tub and naked jockeys into the darkness. The cold bites into the bathers' flesh. The winter chill crawls into their bones. Come on, soldiers, we're going to wash your willies nice and clean, neighs the crazy tub, then springs over the old palisade and gallops away into the night with its shivering captives. Dry corn husks crackle in her bed as the mother turns from one side to the other, then onto her back. Her breasts heave up and down, and a secret bright smile appears on her face. In her dream, she sees her boys. They are beautiful cavalrymen, riding horses towards unknown countries and unknown princesses. Little hussars, she sighs, with dice between her toes, showing the number 1. Follow the thread which embroiders north on the compasses. Somewhere near the border stands a bathtub full of ice. The moonlight skates on the icicles that drip down its sides. Two bathers in bathwater have become a solid ice sculpture. Their dim, motionless eyes stare at each other. Their white skin lights up the dark. They are clean, all right. In the village, the music of burnt violins bleaches the walls. The broken chalk of angels falls on the rooftops.
It was such a good story. But it's so dark, you know. My book.
Yeah.
Daniel, you're like, yeah. What do you think?
It's very bleak, but it's the imagery is crazy. Like,
Yeah.
it brings it to life.
Yeah. The imagery, I agree.
Yeah.
Well, I'm grateful for that translation. I actually had to look up the word hussars. How do you say that? Because I wasn't sure.
Yeah, it's like a Polish knight. Or
And Jimena, this is also one of your favorites.
Yes, absolutely. I love the imagery. It's like a painting as well, isn't it? The whole thing. It's great. And that's what I mean about there's something more than the story, you know. It's that's what this offers, you know, that you just want to read it again and again, you know. It's great.
You know what other story I read? Because, you know, I edited and read the Tender Ghosts.
very good.
Yeah. I think
I love that. That was the first one I think that we all read. The first one that came, wasn't it?
It was funny. I was just watching a spoof on the Ghostbusters Ghost Killers. But this was so cleverly done. And in the ending just kind of hit me at a gut level, just like this one.
Yeah.
Every time I read the little boys being like, oh my gosh, you know? But it's just beautiful. Really well done.
There's just so many great stories, and some are like Naive and Light, and I mean, well, they all have something though. That's what's nice about it. They're not lightweight really.
No,
I love Lynn's keeping the school open. It's just a beautiful story, like a heartwarming story, and the ending though. I love that ending. I think you are amazing. It's so simple, and I just find it fabulous. Like so different to say the one we were just reading. Sometimes, yeah, funny how they can have that effect on your words. You know, they can be so simple, so light, so plain, or you know, I don't know. I love this collection. It's probably my favorite anthology that I've read.
it was Ross. Okay, not to say that
Very
Ross
strong.
Jeffrey gave it the 5. Ross Jeffrey's pretty tough with his ratings. It was his 5th favorite, but I really enjoyed it. I'm gonna actually get my own copies. Like I was telling him, and I finally ordered my own. And I do plan on doing a second volume, or not a second volume, a second edition. So, I want to do it in color. So there's something different for people who want to buy it, because that was my only regret. Oh, there was another regret. My other regret, because it just took so long to edit, too. And I would like for it to have a forward. We'll see if we can get somebody to do it this time. We have more time, you know. But I really enjoyed it. I love working with you guys, and I think the second volume is going to be better than the first one, just based on the quality of submissions and the art for sure. I can't wait to upload the art so you guys can see it. It's going to be awesome. you know. So
Have you thought about the expense of color art? That's really steep, isn't it?
not as steep as you may think.
Oh, really?
No, not through Ingram Spark. That's what I'm exploring next. So
Okay.
that's part of the reason why I'm doing the fundraiser for my birthday. And if I can't afford to pay for the car, it'll be available for people to buy if they want to. I'll just black and white copy. So there'll be three, one in color, one in black and white, and then the Kindle version, you know, which will make it worth the coin. So we'll see, because there's different options. And I'm still learning how to use Ingram Spark. I'm actually putting out that first collection of poetry, but it's quite long. I was telling Daniel it's like 100 poems, and I'm like, oh my gosh. I was talking to the other, I'm like, let's cut him in half. There's a lot of poems, you know. But we'll see how that goes. It's a lot of work. But I am so grateful. I learned a lot, and I think the next one, I think it's going to be so much fun. It's going to go by faster too, I think, you know, just because we've learned how to work together, and we're all growing more confidence. We work together, I think. But anyway, that's all I got. I don't know if you want to leave any parting shots. I think we've done a great job of giving advice. I'm going to play Adam Gottlieb's song one more time and pitch Adam Gottlieb and One Love, who has been nominated for Best Local Album in Chicago by the Chicago Reader. I'm so proud of him. Actually, I'll play my favorite song, and the album is called All of You. Play this.
Hey, this is my first face-to-face with Daniel. We sit for chat. So I just want to say what a wonderful job you did on editing the poetry.
For sure.
I appreciate that, man. I was so glad to be a part of this. Thank you, guys.
You're welcome.
Boy, man, I think it's gonna be better. You know. How about you, Jimena? Parting shots?
Pardon?
Any parting shots?
I can't really hear you at the moment because there's somebody gardening or something next door.
Don't worry about it.
I came back because I thought the boys would get up and be noisy, but yeah.
Listen. Well, thank you guys so much. This has been amazing. And I'll see you soon. We'll start talking about editing. I always pull out
Guys,
the math. It's amazing. Thank you.
All right, take care, all.